All right, so the first thing that we did was set up our WebAssign account. We clicked on the WebAssign link at the top. Okay, your page is obviously going to look different from mine because I already have a WebAssign account, but it would take you to WebAssign. It would upload that instructional video on the module with WebAssign so that if you are at home and you are watching this and you don't know how to create that, there will be the whole video on to create your WebAssign. Once you are logged into WebAssign, you've created your password, you can access WebAssign from anything that has internet. So you can do this. Like I had a lot of kids last year that got custom like doing the laptop and the iPad when we were on Zoom, and they preferred that method. They were literally typing their answers in on WebAssign on a laptop because the keyboard was easier, but they were doing the work on their iPad. I don't care how you do it. You get to choose, okay? Whatever method works for you. You could split your screen between Safari and Notability and be copying over the work and that kind of stuff into Notability. That is your option, okay? What has to happen is you have to get your questions from WebAssign. You have to enter every answer into WebAssign and get a score for it. And then you have to show the work for those questions in Notability or on a notebook piece of paper that you take a picture of and turn it into a PDF. Okay, is that clear? Yeah, okay. So I'm gonna clear off the extra assignments on here. I would prefer you only see almost like what you only see on Canvas. So it will be the stuff that's in the next week. There's a practice assignment there for you to just play around with WebAssign. So that's the first one I want you to click on. Notice underneath it says P3 homework. That's what you would start to access for homework and you'll get as far as you can this weekend depending on what we get to in the notes today. If you click on the practice assignment, it's only 4 questions for now. You're gonna see these questions, okay? Here are my questions, and then the little box underneath it is where you're gonna type in your answer. So I picked a couple of different kind of format answers so that you can kind of get comfortable with the little toolbar, okay? But let's just practice this together. So like, what is 4 to the 6th raised to the 0 power? 1. So I'm gonna put my little cursor right in that box. I'm gonna hit 1, and I'm gonna hit enter. And underneath it, it will literally say submit answer, you see, or it'll say practice another version. The practice another version is where you can generate extra practice problems, okay? And right underneath it says need help, read it. So sometimes there's gonna be a read it, which is gonna take you to the part of the book where it explains that kind of question. And sometimes there's gonna be like on number 2, a watch it, which actually has a video explaining that content. All right, if I go to B and it says -4 to the 2nd, what does that answer? Why is it wrong? -16, it's not in parentheses, right? So I'm going to type in -16, okay? And when I click submit answer, and I would strongly recommend you do this question by question, it will automatically score that question and it's saved. What you don't want to do is go all the way down and answer all the questions, not submit any of them, and then lose Wi-Fi. Because guess what? You go back into this assignment and all those answers are gone. And it might generate a new question so you can't even answer it based on your work. So submit your questions as you go. And feel free to jump around. If number 3 was easier, go to number 3. If number 1's easier, go to number 1, okay? All right, anything that has a special character like we just talked about, that if you click into the box, the little calc pad pops up. And those are the most common ones, so your exponents, your fractions, and your square root, stuff like that. Be careful with the letters that you use. Don't ever use a capital letter. So they're all lowercase. If you're typing an X, it's lowercase. If you put a capital X, it's going to mark it wrong. Okay? So just keep that stuff in mind. Another great trick is if you were to open this page in Safari and you screenshot Safari, I'll show you how to do that like live, but obviously I'm not in the video. And at the top, you get the option of just the screenshot or you get the full web page. If you do full web page, it will give you the full assignment. So what I see a lot is the kids will take the screenshot in Safari, do the full page, open that up in Notability and work right on there and then put in their answers, okay? Once you've completed it all and you have the work on Notability, you're going to send this back to Canvas with the score on the top. So you're going to screenshot your score at the top, which is going to have, each box is going to have a check or an X, whatever it is. You're going to screenshot that. You're going to put it at the top of your PDF, and then you're going to send that to Canvas, okay? And that's going to be what you submit. When you get to a lot of questions, that box gets cut. Like you only see, I think it's up to like 6 in one little box. You have to give me all the boxes. The easiest way is to, if you split your screens, if you do the side by side, it automatically shrinks it. That's the easiest way to get the whole box. If by chance you don't understand that or you don't want to do that, then you could take a screenshot from 1 to 4, scroll over from 5 to 6, that kind of thing, and just make sure you give me all of it, okay? In that screenshot, it needs to be your name so I can see your name, like up in the top right corner. It should be your email. This should be your email, and then your score, okay? The rubric will show you at 80 and above, with work is 100. So you don't have to be perfect. I don't expect homework to be perfect. Sometimes there's going to be hard questions, or it's the format that gets you. Don't stress about it, okay? You don't have to have 100. But if you're not showing work or you're not answering questions, that's when you're going to see your score go down. You have to at least make an attempt on every one, okay? Questions? Start the notes for P3. So chapter P, section 3 is called Polynomials and Special Products. Okay, there's a lot of multiplying things out in this section. Adding and subtracting is where it starts. So we will add and subtract polynomials by combining like terms. And to do that, we would ignore the coefficients. The coefficients, the term must be identical. So in order to add something that has x squared, y squared, I have to also have x squared, y squared. Just like with our radicals, in order for us to add, they had to be exactly the same. What's underneath the radical, it's similar to that with your like terms. Quick examples. So if you look at number 1, this is just addition, right? So I can actually ignore the parentheses. And then 4y to the second has the y to the second on it, and so does negative 7y to the second. So I combine those. 4 minus 7 would be negative 3y squared. And then negative 3 and positive 9 gives me a positive 6. Go to 2. You've got an x to the third and an x to the third here. Again, it's addition, so I can just ignore the parentheses. 5x to the third plus x to the third becomes what? 6x to the third. Good. Then I've got an x to the second and an x to the second. Negative 7, positive 2 becomes? Negative 5, x to the second. Good. And then I've got a negative 3 and a positive, I've got a negative x that doesn't have a match here. So negative x goes next. And then I've got the negative 3 and the positive 8, so that's a positive 5. You're going to enter these in decreasing degree order, which means highest exponent down to none. So that's the order that they should be going in. With number 3, it's a minus between. So the first thing we have to do is change the signs of everything after that minus. I end up with 2x squared plus 1 minus x squared plus 2x minus 1. And then I want to combine my like terms again. So 2x squared gets combined with a negative x squared, and that's x to the second. There's only one x, so the 2x stays by itself. And then a positive 1 and a negative 1 actually cancels out. So that's my answer. Easy stuff, right? We remember this stuff from algebra? Yeah, okay, good. Just be careful. People make interesting mistakes with that negative. All right, you do these. All right, so for the first one, the negative is going to get applied to everything after. So I have 7x to the fourth minus x to the second minus 4x plus 2 minus 3x to the fourth plus 4x to the second minus 3x. So distributed the negative to everything after the minus inside the parentheses. And then we combine our like terms. So I've got a 7x to the fourth and a negative 3x to the fourth. That's 4x to the fourth. I've got a negative x to the second and a positive 4x to the second. So that's positive 3x to the second. I've got a negative 4x and a negative 3x. So that's negative 7x. And then I've got a positive 2 and not another constant. So that is the only constant that gets listed. Questions on that one? Okay. On 5, you've got like parentheses on the front, the minus, and then there's parentheses inside. This minus is going to get applied to everything on the inside here. You have options though. You can combine these first and then distribute the negative, or you can distribute the negative and then combine them. It's completely up to you. So because the parentheses are there, I would probably have done everything inside them first. So it's y squared plus 3y minus 6. And then I would distribute the negative into the brackets. So y to the third plus 1 minus y to the second minus 3y plus 6. And then I'd get y to the third. There's minus y to the second minus 3y plus 7. Good on that one. Okay, next up is multiplying the polynomials. So that was adding, subtracting, now we're going to multiply. When we multiply polynomials, we're going to multiply the coefficients, we're going to multiply the variables with the exponents, and when we multiply variables with exponent, we just add the exponents if the base is the same. And then if we're multiplying binomials, binomial means two terms. So two parentheses with two terms, we FOIL, first, outer, inner, last. And then at the end, obviously, you're going to always combine like terms. So the last step you want to do is making sure that you can combine your like terms. All right, so they look like this. On 6, I'm going to take that x and distribute it to all the terms inside the parentheses. So what is x times 3x to the second? There would be a 1 here, right? So 1 times 3 would be 3. And then what's x times x squared? X to the third. Good. X times negative x is what? Negative x squared. And x times positive 1? Positive x. Distributing again on 7. 3x times 5x becomes what? Negative 3x, sorry. Good. Negative 15x to the second. And then negative 3x times 2? Negative 6x. Yeah, good. Okay, 8. Now we're distributing y squared. So 4y squared times y squared is 4y to the fourth, because we would add those exponents. Y squared times 2y is positive 2y to the third. And y squared times negative 3, negative 3y squared. Now 8, the order is switched, but it is the same idea of distributing. You can either do these two, like so it would be 4y to the third, and then these two, negative 6y to the fourth, or you could have reversed that. If we're writing this in decreasing degree order, it would be negative 6y to the fourth plus 4y to the third. Okay, it doesn't make it wrong to be in the other order. It's just that the negative, if you're in decreasing degree order, thank you. In decreasing degree order, it would be this way. Won't mark the order wrong. So if you will 4y to the third minus 6y to the fourth, it takes it. Okay, so don't stress too much about it. All right, now we're FOILing. Each of these are binomials, right? A product of binomials. There's two terms in each one. So we do first x times x, which is x squared. Outer, 4 times x, which is 4x. Inner, negative 8 times x, negative 8x. And last, negative 8 times positive 4, negative 32. And then you want to combine your like terms. Positive 4x and negative 8x gives me a negative 4x minus 32. Same thing. First would be 15x squared. Outer would be positive 21x. Inner, negative 10x. And last, negative 14. We've gotten for 12, 2x squared plus 6x minus 20. And for 13, 28x squared minus 29 plus 6. Raise your hand, we got them both right. Okay, good. Remember that you need to combine your like terms. You need to make this as simplified as possible so that those three terms should be what's on your line as your answer. All right, we're going to do 14, but we're going to save 15 for Monday. This has got, these are two trinomials. So we can't use the acronym FOIL, but you're doing the same thing. You're distributing each term in the first to each term in the second. So I'm going to take the x squared and multiply it times x squared. I get x to the fourth. X squared times 2x, positive 2x to the third. X squared times 2, positive 2x squared. Then I go to the next one. Negative 2x times x squared is negative 2x to the third. Negative 2x times positive 2x is negative 4x squared. Negative 2x times 2, negative 4x. And then I go to the last one. 2 times x squared, positive 2x squared. 2 times 2x, positive 4x. 2 times 2, positive 4. Now I've got to combine my like terms. There is only one x to the fourth. There are two x to the thirds. One's a positive 2x and one's a negative 2x, so they actually cancel out. There are 3x squareds. Positive 2 minus 4 would be negative 2 plus 2. They cancel out as well. Negative 4x and positive 4x also cancel out. And the last thing left that's by itself is the positive 4. If they didn't cancel out, obviously you'd need that term, but if they cancel out, they're gone. Questions on that one? All right, so here's some special products. These are like ways to design shortcuts based on the type of product that you're given, okay? You do not ever have to use these shortcuts. You can always just FOIL them out, but they are shortcuts to save you some time, okay? The first one is if you're multiplying opposites. So this is very similar to what we did with our denominators when we were rationalizing and they were a binomial. So if it was like 2 plus root 3 and we multiply it by 2 minus root 3, we use that shortcut, which is square the first one minus square the second one, okay? So if I had x plus 2 and x minus 2, I square the first term, so it's x squared, and I subtract from it the square of the second term, which is a positive 4. That one is probably the easiest, fastest, and it saves you the most amount of time. The second one and the third one are both squareds. So these are perfect squared binomials. I'm taking a binomial and I'm squaring it. The only difference between these two is the sign on the middle term. If it's a binomial squared, then we square the first term, and that's the first term. We square the last term, and that's the last term. And because it's squared, it will always be positive. And then you double the product, and that's the middle term. So I would multiply these two terms together and then double it, or multiply it by 2. If you keep the sign from the middle on it, which is what you should do, then that sign will carry in. The second or the third one is a special product if it's a minus between. You still square the first term, square the last term, and they will both be positive. But when you double the product in the middle, it would be negative because it will be a product. It will be 2 times the negative number. The cubes, to be honest, are not that big of a time saver, and a lot of times we don't remember them. So I don't want you to stress out about it too much. It is just designed to help you. But if it is parentheses cubed, whether it's a plus or a minus, we follow this pattern. Cube the first, cube the last, just like we did before. And then you do 3 times the first term squared times the second term. That's what this is. And then 3 times the first term times the second term squared. So you would square the second term. You're going to repeat that process if it's a minus, square it and square it. The difference this time is because it's a square, sorry, not square it, cube it. Because it's cubed, If it's negative, that last term is going to be negative. And then it's 3 times the a squared times b, and 3 times the ab squared. If you forget that shortcut, I put that in like air quotes because it's not very short, you can always just multiply them out, okay? So I'm going to do one of each of these just so that you can start it on the assignment if you want to, but we'll come back to the rest later. So I'm going to go to 16 first. Which of those special products is this? The first one. They are the same terms. One's a plus, one's a minus. So I square the first term, I square the second term, and I put a minus between them. 2x squared is 4x squared. 9 is the result of 3 squared, and I put a minus between them. We'll go back to 17 on Monday. 18 is your perfect square, or the square of a binomial. So I square the first term, and that's the first term. I square the last term, and that's the last term. And then I double the product, paying attention to the sign. So 6x times negative 5 is negative 30x. And then I multiply that times 2, and I get negative 60x. So this becomes 36x squared minus 60x plus 25. Square the first, square the last, double the product in the middle. We'll come back to 19 again on Monday. We're going to skip to a cube. 21. Well, we'll go back to the other ones later. So I'm going to come back here, and I'll come back here. All right, so with the cubes, right, this is the shortcut. Take the first one, cube it. Take the last one, it's a positive 2, cube it. If it was a negative 2, I'd keep the 2 with it. Then it's positive, so it's plus 3 times the first term squared times the second term. Plus 3 times the first term times the second term squared. If it was a negative, remember the signs change. So now 3x to the third would be 27x to the third. 3x squared would be 9x squared times 3 times 2, or 9 times 6 is positive 54x squared. 3 times 3 times 2 squared. 2 squared is 4. 9 times 4 is 36. Positive 36x. And the last term is 2 to the third, which is 8. Now let's say that completely confuses you, or you forget the shortcut. You're doing 3x plus 2 times 3x plus 2 times 3x plus 2. So you can actually use the special product on the squared one with the first two. 9x squared plus double the product, so 12x plus the last one squared. And then I would distribute that to 3x plus 2. So I'd get 27x to the third. Oops, I lost my 7. I'd get positive 18x squared, positive 36x, positive 24x. Oh, wait, this one is squared. And then 4x times 3x, or 4 times 3x, 12x, and 4 times 2 is 8. So I'd get 27x to the third plus 54 x to the second plus 36x plus 8. So same answer. The one on the right is not that many more steps, and to be honest, I think this is the shortcut people freak out the most because it's hard to remember. If that's the case, just FOIL it out, okay? You could totally get to it that way. All right, we're going to finish the rest of the examples and stuff on Monday, but you can actually complete as much of that P3. There's nothing we didn't cover. So if you get to a P3 question and you're like, I don't know what to do, then save it and we'll talk about it on Monday. But the content we've covered. So if you want to finish that homework, you totally can, okay? But again, remember it's on WebAssign. And make sure you're showing your work. All of this stuff, like at the beginning, you're kind of just like combining your like terms. But after that, all the multiplying, I should definitely see work.